Hello everyone. Hope you're all doing well, by the way. Okay. All right. So the next program in chapter 4 is pennies for pay. Pennies for pay. Okay. So write a program that calculates the amount a person would earn over a period of time if his or her salary is 1 penny the first day, 2 pennies the second day, and continues to double each day. So the program should display a table showing the salary for each day, and then show the total pay at the end of the period. The output should be displayed in a dollar amount, not the number of pennies. And it said input validation, do not accept a number less than 1 for the number of days worked. Okay, so basically a worker works for a number of days. So a worker is going to type in the number of days they worked. Okay, so let's assume 7 days. And so the worker gets paid a penny. Okay, actually, the worker gets paid in pennies. Okay, the worker gets paid in pennies. The first day, the worker gets paid 1 penny. The second day, the worker gets paid 2 pennies. The third day, 4 pennies. So basically, every day the pay doubles. So from 1 to 2, from 2 to 4, 4 to 8. So first day 1, second day doubles from 1 to 2. The third day doubles from 2 to 4. Fourth day doubles from 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, and so on. Okay, so basically the program is going to display some kind of table saying for day 1, this person earned 1 penny. For day 2, this person earned 2 pennies. For day 3, this person earned 4 pennies, and then 8 pennies, and so on. And then when you are done, you're basically going to add up the person's pay together. But the program doesn't want you to display a number of pennies, say 276 pennies. The program wants you to convert, try to change that to a dollar amount. So if it's, let's say, 100 pennies, we know 100 pennies is $1. So instead of displaying 100 pennies, display $1. If it's 102 pennies, instead of displaying 102 pennies, display $1.02. So we'll do that. All right. So let me go ahead and start the program. So I'll go ahead and create the class. Oops, my typing always gets worse. So public class, I'll call this pennies for pay. And then I'll go ahead and create the main method. Sorry. Okay, so because we're going to be accepting input, because the program says over here, do not accept a number less than 1 for the number of days worked. So we know we are going to be accepting input. So I'm going to be using the scanner for this one. I can go ahead and use the J option pane, but I'm just choosing. Sorry, I can go ahead and use the J option pane, but I'm just choosing to use the scanner class. So in order to use the scanner class, I need to import it so that the program can have access to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Sorry about the cough. I had a cough a couple of days ago, but it's going. I give myself a couple of days, maybe 2 days, and I should be fine. Hopefully, by God's grace. All right, so import. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and import it. So import, java.util scanner. All right, so someone commented, I think today, and said that I say sorry too much. I don't do it intentionally. I say sorry when I have to say sorry. So please bear with me there, okay? I actually replied to him and explained. So hope he understands. Yeah, I don't do it intentionally. It's just when I have to, I do say sorry. Okay. Sorry. All right. So since now we've created the scanner, we've imported the scanner class. So we need to create a scanner object so we can use it. So I'm going to go ahead and create a scanner object. I'm going to call it scanner. Now, someone was asking a question that, why do I always use what is scanner? What is scanner? Now, this is the name of the this is the name of the class, the scanner class, and this is the name of the object. This name can be anything. You can name it you can name it keyboard. You can name it your name. You can name it this. Okay, it's just an object that is going to reference a scanner object. Okay, so you could name it anything, but I tend to name it scanner. But I can name it anything. So scanner, I'm creating a new object. I'm calling it scanner, and I'm going to create a new scanner object in memory. I'm going to connect it to system.in, which is going to accept inputs from the keyboard and connect it to the scanner object. It's going to accept input from the byte info from the keyboard. Okay, and then it's going to connect it to the scanner object, so we can use it. So we can use the methods in the scanner class, to do whatever we want to do. Okay, so now we have the scanner object created. So let's see what's next. So write a program that calculates the. Okay, so now we have the scanner, so we can go ahead and ask the user, because it said do not accept a number less than 1 for the number of days worked, right? So first, let's go ahead and ask the user to enter the number of days worked. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So please enter the number of days worked. So once we ask the user that, I'm going to go ahead and use the scanner.next int method to basically prompt or pop up a text box that's going to allow the user to enter the number of days worked as an integer. And what the scanner.next int is going to do is it's going to convert whatever the user types into an integer. But once it does that, we need a place to store it. So I'm going to go ahead and declare a variable up here, and I'm going to call it days worked. Oops. I have to declare it with a data type. So int days worked. Okay, int, because days you can't have 1.5 days. You can, but for this program we're limiting it to integers. Okay, someone can work half a day. Okay, but yes, someone can work half a day, but this program we're limiting it to days worked. Okay, so int days work, I'm going to declare it, and then once the user types in the days work, we're going to go ahead and store it in days worked here. So now we know the days that the worker worked. Okay, so now let's see what's next. The program should display a table showing the. Okay, right. So now we know the number of days worked. So I'm going to go ahead and create a for loop here, because now we know exactly how many records we're displaying, because the user said is going to type in the days worked. So if the user types in 7, we know we are going to display from day 1 to day 7 and how much the user earned, right? So I'm going to start initializing. We start the loop. I'm going to initialize it. I'm going to create a variable called day. Okay, int day. I'm going to set it to 1. Okay, so I'm starting basically from day 1. That's what I'm doing. I'm creating a variable. Day is going to reference, or it's going to keep track of our days. Okay, so day int day is equals to 1. As long as the day, which is as long as 1 is less than or equal to days worked. Okay, as long as 1 day was less than or equal to days worked, it's less than or equal to the number of days that the number of days worked that the user typed. Do what's in this loop, and then when you're done, I need to close this. We are initializing int day to 1 to keep track of the number of days. As long as the day is less than the number of days that the user typed, do what's in this loop, and then add 1 to day. Okay, add 1 to day, so we can keep track. We can go to the next day and calculate how much the user earned, and then add 1, and then let's keep doing that. All right, so setting day to 1. As long as days is less than or equal to days work, do what's in here, and then before you go back up to the loop header and check this, add 1, and then do what's in here before you go back up and check the loop header, the Boolean expression, add 1 to it. So what we want to happen for day 1 is this. We want to first, we know the day already. We have it in a variable here, day. we need to calculate the salary. All right, we need to calculate the salary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another variable which is going to keep track of the pennies for a day. Okay, pennies for a day. Okay, so I'm going to create an int variable. I'm going to call it pennies per day, or pennies for day. You can name it anything, but not per day. I'm going to say pennies for day. Okay, pennies for the day, because it changes. It's not the same. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and name it pennies for day. So we know the day. Let's go ahead and calculate the pennies for day. Okay, so pennies for day 1 in this case. Okay, we're going to write a statement here that's going to basically calculate for every loop. For every loop, it's going to calculate the right amount of, or right number of pennies for a day. So realize the question said that for day 1, the person is going to get 1 penny. Day 2, the person is going to get 2 pennies. Day 3, 4 pennies. So every day the number of pennies doubles. So from 2 to 4, from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, so and so on. So let me go ahead and pull up the calculator real quick. And does it have I think yeah, it does. I think every time I did it, control 1, control 2, it works. Okay, control 2 works. Okay, so anytime you do, let's say you compute 2, right? Where's the exponent? Where is it? Should be somewhere here. It's this, right? Okay, right? 2 exponent. I think it's this. So anytime you compute 2 exponent and number, so 2 exponent 0, right? It gives you 1. Okay, if you compute 2 exponent 1, you get 2. If you compute 2 exponent 2, you get 4. Okay, 2 exponent 3, you get 8. So we are getting the numbers, right? Because every day we have a math formula or a math logic to get the pennies for a day. Every day it doubles. Okay, every day the pennies double. So we're starting from, we are 2 is going to be constant, right? So 2 exponent 0 gives us 1. That's for day 1. Okay, 2 exponent 1 gives us 2. That's for day 2. It's doubling. 2 exponent 2, okay, gives us 4. It's doubling, right? 2 exponent 3, 8, and so on. So that's what we're going to do to calculate the number of pennies for a day. So for day 1, sorry, pennies for a day, I'm going to call the math function, the math method. Basically, it's a function in the class. So it's a math method, and by using the math class. So first, I'm going to call use the math class. So math.pal. Okay, pal is basically a function or a method in the math class that allows you to compute a number raised to the power another number. Right, so if I put in, let's say, this is an example. If I put in, let's say, 2, 3, this means 2 exponent 3, and the result is going to be stored in pennies for a day. All right, so that's what we're going to use here. So to calculate the pennies for a day, basically the day 1, it said the person gets 1 penny, right? The person gets 1 penny. So the first thing I'm going to do, the base is going to be 2. I'm going to put a comma, right? I'm going to go ahead and put a comma. And I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Don't worry, my cough is almost gone, okay? Bear with me here. So the base is going to be 2. I'm going to raise to the power 0. But the thing is, I can go ahead and declare a variable in here or out of the in the loop, right, and keep on increasing it start from 0 and keep on increasing it. But I have this day variable, right? If I put the day variable here, now day is 1. Okay, so if I say math.pal 2 exponent 1, the pennies for the first pennies for a day, when the loop starts, the first pennies for the day, it's not going to result in 1. It's going to result in 2, because 2 exponent 1. Remember, day is 1. So 2 exponent 1 will give us 2. So that's not what we want. Okay, but I said I can go ahead and declare a variable here. I can say int not here. I can declare a variable outside, right, and say int exponent is equal to 0. And when I use exponent here, I can basically increment it in the loop. But I don't want to do that. I'm going to use something I already have and work with it. I have the day variable here. First I need to start with 2 exponent 0, right? So I have the day I'm sorry, the day variable here. So I'm going to use it, right, and say 2 exponent day, right, because day is 1. So because day is 1, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1 from it to get 2 exponent 0, right? So 2 exponent 0 now gives me 1 for pennies for a day. So I have the pennies for day, right? So I can go ahead and print it at least, just print it at least, so I know that I have the pennies for a day. Now if the loop, if day is being incremented by 1, now it's going to come and check. It's 2. Now the loop started with 1, right? If it goes up and comes back, it gets incremented by 1. So it's going to check if 2 is less than or equal to day's work. If the user typed in 7 for day's work, of course 2 is less than or equal to 7. So what's going to happen is now it's going to be the pennies for day 2. Okay, pennies for day 2 is going to be math.pow 2. Day is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So it's basically going to be 2 exponent 1, right? And 2 exponent 1 gives you 2. Now remember, for day 1 we started with 1. Now day 2 we are getting 2. We want to make sure we are subtracting 1 from day. Otherwise, when we are displaying the pennies for a day, we wouldn't start with 1. We will start with 2. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I hope you do know what I mean. I hope I'm not confusing anyone. All right. If we do this, right, and the program starts, day is going to be 1. So the first pennies for day, okay, for day 1, pennies for day 1, it's going to be 2 exponent 1 because day is 1, and 2 exponent 1 is 2. But we don't want to start with 2. We want to start with 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and subtract 1 from this day, right? So day is 1, but over here 2 exponent 1 minus 1 is 0. 2 exponent 0 gives you 1. If day increments to 2, and we come here and we're calculating the pennies for day 2. Pennies for day 2, we are expecting it to be 2 pennies, right? So when you calculate it this way, it's going to be 2 exponent day, which is 2 minus 1. This results to 1. So basically 2 exponent 1, which is going to give you 2. So for day 2, we are getting 2 pennies. If day gets increased to 3 when it comes back up, now for day 3, pennies for a day is going to be math.pow 2 exponent 3 minus 1 gives you 2. So it's going to be 2 exponent 2, which yields 4. So for day 3, the person is getting 4 pennies. So that's exactly what we want. But like I said, you can create another variable outside a loop, call it exponent, and increment it in the loop. You can do that if you want. Okay, so that's how we're going to calculate the pennies for a day. And once we have it, we can go ahead and print it. So I'm going to start printing it here. So system.out.println, and let's see how I'm going to display this. So I'm going to start by saying day, and I'm going to create a tab. Okay, \t create a tab, and I'm going to create salary, or let's say pennies for the day, pennies for the day. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new line character just to break the line. Sorry, just to take the cursor to the next line. Underline the day with 4 hyphens. Create another tab. Tab which is \t, and underline pennies for a day with a couple of hyphens. And then I'm going to break the line, or take the cursor to the next line by typing a new line character \n. Together it's a new line character. Together this is the tab, a tab. So when I break it, now I want to print the day. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and concatenate this with day. So now day, when the loop starts is 1, so now it's going to print 1 for basically day 1. I'm going to go ahead and concatenate it with a tab, because I'm now going to print the pennies for a day, and then I'm going to concatenate it with the pennies for a day, like this. So this whole string is going to okay, so I made a mistake here. So this day and pennies for a day is the header. I don't want to print I'm sorry, I didn't want to I didn't sometimes it just skips me. Sorry. So I only want to print out the day and the pennies for a day. Okay, so let's start afresh. This pennies for a day, I don't want to print it every time the loop goes away. This is what I want to print: the day and the pennies for a day, day and pennies for a day. This is what I want to print in the loop. This is what I want to iterate. But this days and pennies for a day is just a header. So I'm going to go. I just want to print that one time before I print the day and pennies for a day, a couple of times. So I'm going to create a system.out. Go ahead. Before the loop, I'm going to create a system.out.println. Sometimes this happens. I'm sorry. And I'm going to print out the same thing I printed here. So days, pennies for a day, new line, underline it. Okay. Cut this. And okay. So I'm going to go ahead and print this. What I'm printing is the header. I'm printing day, a tab, pennies for a day. Take the cursor to a new line, underline day, put a tab, and underline pennies for the day. Okay, that's what you're going to print. And I forgot to, I don't have to do this. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have to. Yeah, so basically this is what I'm printing once. And then I'm going to go ahead and system.out.print day. So day is going to fall on the day with a tab. That's this tab. And then pennies for day is going to fall on the pennies for day. So that's what I want to do. But guess what? The program also said that the program should display a table showing the salary for each day and then show the total pay at the end of the period, right? We know we are getting the pennies for a day, so we can add it up so that by the time the loop is done, we will have all the pennies in one variable. So let's go ahead and create an accumulator, a variable that's going to keep track of how many pennies total, okay, to add up all the number of pennies. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to create another int variable and then say total pennies. Okay, total pennies. Okay, so initially total pennies is 0 because there's nothing, total pennies is 0 initially. So I'm going to go ahead and in the loop, once I find the total pennies for one day, before you go ahead and calculate another day, first before you calculate, add the pennies for a day to total pennies. So basically total pennies is going to be equal to total pennies plus pennies for the day. Pennies for day. I named it pennies for. Let me name it for the day. For the day. Okay, so total pennies is going to be 0, right? So total 0 is going to be, so total pennies here is going to be 0, which is what it is initially. Total pennies is going to be equal to 0 sorry, plus the pennies for a day. So if the pennies for a day is 1, now total pennies is going to be 1. The next time the loop iterate is going to be 1 because 1 is already stored here. It's going to be equal to 1 plus, total pennies here is going to be equal to 1 plus pennies for a day. If pennies for a day is, let's say, 2, it's going to be 2 plus 1, okay, which is going to be 3 pennies, right? So the next time the loop iterates, total pennies is going to be equal to 3 plus, if let's say pennies for a day is 4, you go ahead and add 4 to 3, and then our total pennies becomes 7. Okay, so now we will have the total pennies by the time the loop is done. And now we can go ahead and print the total pennies, right? First, we need to we can go ahead and print it. But the program said that the output should be displayed in a dollar amount, not the number of pennies. We don't want to go ahead and print the total pennies. So we need to find a way to try to convert or change the total pennies to a dollar amount, right? So what I'm going to do is this. We know that 100 pennies give us, open up the calculator again. I closed it. I wasn't supposed to. So take this back. We know that 100 pennies gives us $1. So in other words, if I have 100 pennies and I divide by 100 pennies, I get $1. If I have 102 pennies and I divide it by 100 pennies, I get $1.02. If I have 152 pennies and I divide by 100 pennies, I get $1.52. Okay, so 100 pennies gives us $1. So basically, if we divide the total number of pennies, we get the exact dollar amount. It's going to be the exact dollar amount, and we have the total number of total pennies here. So to calculate the total, let's go ahead and make this program look organized. So I'm going to say int pennies in $. I'm just storing it in a variable. Actually, you know what? I can name it. Let's see, final. I can store it in the final because it doesn't change. Pennies in $. I can say final int. Okay, pennies in $, and I'm naming this pennies in $. I like to name my variables long. It doesn't really matter to me. You can name it short if you want, but this helps me a lot. So final int, it's going to be a final, which is a constant. It doesn't change while the program is running. It's going to be fixed. This isn't a number that won't change. When you it's a number that won't change, so it's fine. All right, so final int pennies in $. If you want, you can just use this number straight in the calculation. It doesn't really matter, but I'm storing it here. So final int pennies in $. Sorry, it's 100. So let's go ahead and create another variable. We're just going to store the total salary. Okay, total salary. Initially, it's going to be 0. The total salary initially. What am I doing? All right, sorry. Total salary initially is going to be 0. Oops. And I forgot to add the data type. So it's going to be a double. Okay, so it's going to be a double. So total pennies is going to be total pennies plus pennies per day. So we're going to go ahead and I need to add a semicolon here. We're going to have total pennies here. So in order to get the total salary, okay, total salary is going to be equal to the total pennies, which we already have here, divided by pennies in a day. I mean, sorry, not in a day, in $1. Bear with me, I'm sorry. Okay, so to get a total salary, we're going to say total, based on the calculation we did here. Keep on closing the calculator. Based on the calculation we did here, okay, if we have, let's say, 102 pennies divided by 100 gives us $1.02. So total salary is going to be total pennies divided by pennies in $, which we know is 100 here. And I need to terminate this. Sometimes I code in Python. So in Python we don't terminate, so I get it mixed up there, and sometimes when I go to Python I terminate it. So but yeah, I figure it out later on, or instantly. It all depends. But yeah, I mix it up sometimes, so bear with me. All right, so now we have the total salary, right? So we'll go ahead and print it. We'll go ahead and print it and say, actually we can go ahead and print it and say system.out.print ln, and then we say total total salary. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a $sign in front of it, and I'm going to concatenate it with total salary, and then I'm going to terminate it. All right, so we're done. This should work. If it doesn't, we'll fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and compile it and then create a folder for this one and say, call it pennies for a day. I mean for pay. I keep on saying. Well, I think we had a variable called per day in there. That's why pennies for the day. Okay, so pennies for pay. I'm going to create a variable and save this here. Okay, we have an error. Okay, so loss of possible precision found double required as int. Because I have declared this pennies for the day as int, it's expecting an int to be stored in here. So it's saying that I'm getting a double here, but I'm storing it in an int variable. If I go ahead to do that, I'm going to lose anything after the decimal point, because this can't store things after the decimal point. This stores only integers. I mean, it will store like an integer. Let's say if it's 2.5, it can only store 2. It wouldn't store the 0.5. So it's saying, hey, you lose the 0.5, but you need it in your program. You may need it in your program, very likely. And the thing is, anytime you use math.pal, for some reason, you end up getting a double. So you can't, for some reason, even though 2 exponent 0 is 1, 2 exponent 1 is 2, 2 exponent 2 is 4, 2 exponent 3 is 8. Even though it's doing that, even though this results in like an integer, math.pal somehow returns a double, and this is complaining because it wouldn't allow you to store a double in an integer. So we need to find a way to convert this value to an integer, and we can use typecasting to do that. So I'm going to create parentheses around this variable. I mean, not this variable. This whole, like that. I'm going to create parentheses around this whole math.pal to explain a whole of this, right? And I'm going to use typecasting to convert it to an integer. Okay, so I'm putting int in parentheses like this in front of math.pal. Okay, in front of math.pal 2, day minus 1, also in parentheses like that. So basically, I'm converting what's the double that's resulting out of this into an int and storing it in pennies per day. The reason why I wouldn't lose anything is because when I do this calculation, I'm always getting an integer. 2 exponent 0 is 1. 2 exponent 1 is 2. 2 exponent 2 is 4. 2 exponent 3 is 8, and so on. So now we go ahead and compile it and see what happens. Okay, so we have another error. Okay, it says, let's see, operator plus cannot be applied to int pennies per day. So let's see. So total pennies, which is 0, is equal to total pennies plus pennies for the day. And says operator. This is a bit weird. Let's see. Okay. Another thing I'm seeing here is I've named this pennies for day. I've named this pennies for day. I named it. I declared it as pennies for the day. So let me go ahead and fix that. Maybe that's what's complaining. I'm going to go ahead and compile it, and that was a problem, because this is perfectly correct. You can go ahead and I'm taking total pennies, and I'm adding something to it. But the thing is, it couldn't. I think it didn't know what pennies for day was. So I changed it back to pennies for the day, and that's what it is. Some of these errors sometimes can be scary. Anyway, so yeah, it compiled correctly. So let's run it and see what happens. So I'm going to enter. I spelled this wrong. Please enter the number of days. I'm going to enter 2 and see what happens. So for 2, I'm expecting 1 penny for day 2, right? And I'm expecting 2 pennies for day. I mean, so 1 penny for day 1. Okay, sorry, and then 2 pennies for day 2. So let's see what happens. All right, so day 1, pennies for the day, I'm getting 1. For day 2, pennies, pennies for the day, I'm getting 2. Total salary, okay, so for some reason, total salary is not giving us the right value. So let's check and see what's happening. Okay, so total salary is 0, it's a double. And where are we computing that? We are computing it here. Okay, so total pennies, right, is an integer. So that's an integer, and pennies in a dollar is also an integer. So that's the problem. Because over here it's doing an integer division. It's doing an integer division because both of these are integers. So where it was supposed to give us a where this computation or this math expression was supposed to give us a double, because both of these are integers, it's basically returning an integer, right? So that's a problem. So in order to do that, one of these has to be a double. One of these have to be a double in order to get a double, right? So let's say the total pennies was, let's say, so let me pull up a calculator. Let's say the total pennies was, in this case, let's use this case so it makes sense. In this case, when we calculate the total pennies in our head, 1 plus 2 gives us 3, right? So in this case, the total pennies will be what? Will be 3. 3, and over here it's dividing the total pennies 3. Where is it? It's dividing the total pennies by pennies in a dollar. We know pennies in a dollar is what, 100. So 3 divided by 100 gives us 0.03 exactly. So look, the reason why it's returning 0 and not 0.03 is because total pennies, over here, total pennies is an integer, and pennies in a dollar is also an integer. I declared it as an integer here. So when you are dividing two integers, even though you are supposed to get a floats, okay, or a double, or a decimal, even though you're supposed to get a decimal, because you are dividing because both operands are integers, your result is going to be an integer. So what's going to happen is instead of storing 0.03 in this variable, it's going to slash anything after that. It's going to basically clear off anything after the decimal point and just store the whole number here, 0, and that's why we are getting 0 here. So in order for this to be fixed, one of them have to be a double, and we can use typecasting the same way we did here. The same way we we converted this whole expression or literal to an integer. So in order to fix that, one of these have to be, sorry, I keep on pointing to this. One of these have to be a double. So since pennies in a dollar, I declared it as a final int. I'm not going to go ahead and touch it. It wouldn't make sense for me to go ahead and declare typecast it to a double. Sorry. So the total pennies here, let's see. Total pennies was an integer 0. Why don't I just go ahead and declare this, all right, as a double? I can go ahead and do that, or I can just convert it to a double by just putting the word or the keyword double in parentheses before it. I can do that. I can go ahead and, so this is temporarily converting total pennies into a double. Now, because one of them is a double, at least one of them has to be a double. At least, if both of them are doubles, it's fine. But at least one of them has to be a double for the results. If indeed is a double, to be stored in total salary. So I can go ahead and do this. The reason why I'm saying total pennies is because the total pennies were integers, right? It's going to be an integer. Pennies, it's either 1, it's either 2, or 5, or 6. We can't have 5.2 pennies. I mean, we can go break it down like that, but in the real world, we are having whole integer pennies. So we're having 10 pennies or 15 pennies. That's why I declared as an integer. But I'll keep it this way because it makes sense that way. So over here, we're just going to, because we want to get the right results in total salary, one of these has to be a double. So in order to get the double, if indeed this calculation or expression results in a double, is to go ahead and let one of these have to be a double in order to get a double if the result of this calculation is a double. So I'm going ahead to use typecasting to convert one of these. In this case, I'm using total pennies because I don't want to touch pennies in a dollar. I declared pennies in a dollar as an int, final int. I just want to keep it that way. And I'll just use typecasting to convert to typecast or temporarily convert this to a double. I can go ahead and do it with this one. It doesn't matter. But like I said, it makes sense to keep this as an int. And even though this is an integer, I'm just going to use this one just to convert it to temporarily to a double. Okay, so that we can get a double answer if indeed this expression results in a double and store it here. So now this fixes the problem. Okay, I hope I didn't talk too much and you understand. Okay. So I'm going to compile it and run it. And let's try the same thing. Let's try 2 days and then hit enter. See? So now because one of this is a double, we are getting 0.03. But if both of these are integers, even though the expression gives you a decimal, because both of them are integers, you are doing an integer division, and it's going to drop anything after the decimal point and only store anything before the decimal point in total salary, which is bad, which is not what we want. So in this case, we are for day 1 you're getting 1 penny. For day 2 you're getting 2 pennies. Okay, and then the total salary now is 3 cents, and you can see it's 3 cents. Let's try something more. Let's go ahead and run. Number of days, I need to change this, but you can change it. So I'm going to type in 7 and hit enter. So we see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Day 1, every day it's doubling. Day 1 we are getting 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64. And when you add them together, you're getting $1.27, right? It should be $1.27. It looks like $1.27. I'm not going to do the math, but it looks like $1.27. We wrote the program and it should work. These things don't fail. As long as you code them well, it doesn't fail. You can go ahead and add them together in the calculator if you want. But it should be $1.27. So yes, we're done. Let's just try one more and just make sure. Actually, I need to fix it. I think I am. I didn't like that line break there. Let's see. So there's a tab here. There's a new line here, and align it. Tab, new line. Oh, that's because system.out.print. There's no need for me to add this new line because system.out.println adds a new line, so there's no need for me to do that. But so I'm going to I cleared that. So, but when I print out the days and the pennies, I want a new line after that. So yeah, I think it's, let's see how it looks like now. So I'm going to put in 4 now. Okay, so for day 1, see, we are getting 3 cents here, we're getting 7 cents here. See, we're getting 15. Okay, so it's correct. We're getting 15 cents here, and this is what we're getting for pennies for day and day. Okay, so after this whole thing is done, let's see. I'm trying to put a new line after this, so this doesn't jam too much. So we can go ahead and do that here, or we can also do it somewhere in the program. Let's see. So we can go ahead and do it here, or before total salary starts, we can add it here too. We can say before you print the total salary, create a new create a line. Okay, create a new line. Move the cursor to the next line before you print it. So this will also fix it. But we can also go ahead and create a new system.print. sorry, a blank system.println. System.out.println method, and see or function, and let's see and see what and then that's going to basically add a new line. Okay, that's going to add a new line. So I'm going to compile it, and this should look nice. Try something like 5. We get in 5 days. It's doubling. It's calculating the total salary. Okay. All right. So yeah, sorry if the program was long, but again, I like to try to go through it, make sure it's clear, it's clear to everyone. Okay, so if you already know it, if you know some of them, like some of the things, and you feel I'm talking too much or it's too long, or you can go ahead and skip through. And but if you like it and you like the details, or you like to go through it, like the way I like to go through it, then I'm happy. Please feel free. Please do that. Learn as much as you can from it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Have a great day. Have a great night. Have a good sleep. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time with the next program. Bye-bye. And take care of yourselves, okay? Bye-bye.